Now that we've checked everyone can hear us, hopefully, we'll get started. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar on the Erasmus VET Mobility Charter. This webinar is designed to explain what the Charter is, its purpose, and who is eligible to apply. We'll also be holding a workshop in Birmingham on the 30th of March 2017 for potential applicants, which will explain the application process in more detail and provide support to those eligible organizations who wish to proceed. After this webinar, if you feel that applying for a VMC is relevant to your organization, we recommend you attend our workshop to find out further details about the application process and hear from current VMC holders who will provide hints and tips on areas that previous applicants fell down on. We have tried to make this webinar as interactive as possible and have designed a couple of polls, which hopefully will keep you entertained along the way. Okay, so to begin with, I'll give you a brief overview of what we will be covering today. I'll start with a quick explanation of what the VMC is, and then we'll look at its key features. I'll then run through which organizations can apply, including in particular the selection criteria. This will be followed by the application process and award criteria in a little more detail. There will then be an explanation of how the national agency manages and assesses your application, what the timeline is, and when you can expect to hear the outcome. Being awarded the VMC comes with a set of responsibilities that you must comply with if you intend to remain a charter holder. I will later on cover these aspects briefly. Key points of the process will then be highlighted together with some important reminders. Finally, I'll talk about the next steps and how to contact us for support in the run-up to the deadline. So then, what exactly is the VMC and what benefits does it bring? The Commission publishes a call document once a year for the 2017 call. The call document was published last November and has since then been on our website. The VET Mobility Charter is a way of rewarding, promoting, and accrediting quality in mobility organizations, which have a proven track record of delivering multiple high-quality mobility placements for staff and/or learners in VET. It is intended to encourage further development of European internationalization strategies, which will be referred to as EIS for the majority of this webinar. The internationalization of organizations is important because it improves the attractiveness and quality of VET. It brings institutions closer to the labor market and it creates networks and qualitative partnerships. VMC applicants are expected to have developed their international approach. For example, by networking with organizations in other countries, promoting the learning of foreign languages, and looking beyond national VET proposals, and this will continue if they are awarded the Charter. The Charter is also meant to improve the quality of VET placements, as well as embed high-quality mobility activities into the curriculum and activities. There are some key features that may well motivate you to consider applying for the VMC. The certificate will be issued for the duration of the Erasmus Plus program until 2020, subject to satisfactory performance. Once the Charter has been awarded, organizations can submit a simplified, dedicated application e-form under Key Action 1 for VET from the subsequent call instead of the full application. For these Key Action 1 applications, there is no qualitative assessment because the quality of the applicant's project has already been assessed within the VET Charter application process. So, to reiterate, it is important to note that those who are awarded the Charter in 2017 will be able to use the modified application process from the 2018 call onwards. However, you should remember that holding the Charter does not mean you will automatically be awarded funding in the following calls. At the same time, the VMC is not obligatory for participation in Erasmus VET mobilities. Therefore, if some applicants are unsuccessful in their Charter application, they can still apply in future Key Action 1 VET mobility calls in the usual way. Finally, the midterm of the Charter and at the end of the last mobility contract, Charter holders will be asked to report on the development of the European internationalization strategy and the impact of the Charter. Now, let's consider the main eligibility and selection criteria. Any public or private organization active in the field of VET can apply for the Charter as long as they can meet the following criteria. Applicants must be established in one of the Erasmus Plus program countries, and if applying to the UK national agency, the organization must therefore be based in the UK. Additional eligibility criteria which you must consider are fully detailed on pages 2 and 3 of the call document published by the Commission. In addition, there are two very important selection criteria. First, applicants must have completed at least 3 VET mobility projects under Leonardo Mobility or Erasmus Plus Key Action 1. And second, the average budget spent across the 3 last completed projects must total at least 80%. So be careful that we mean here the 3 last completed projects and not any 3 projects you've completed. A note about consortium applications. The eligibility rules of the 3 VET mobility projects and a minimum average spend of 80% of the budget applies to the consortium as a whole or each organization which is a member of the consortium. The VMC, if awarded to a consortium, is only valid for the exact same consortium and is not valid for the use of an individual partner. Full details about the selection criteria are on page 4 of the call document. It is your responsibility to read the call document carefully and make sure you comply with the criteria for applying. Let's have a look at the first poll, which Luca will be moderating on the screen for you in just a few seconds.
Okay, so the poll is asking you whether you consider yourself eligible to apply. Please press yes or no based on your experience in VET mobility project and budget consumption. We are just waiting for a couple more to respond to that. Okay, it's good to see that most of you consider themselves to be eligible, and hopefully this webinar will help you make the first steps towards submitting your application.
Thank you for taking the time to complete that poll for us. We'll move on to the application process. You can apply to become a charter holder whether or not your organization is a previous applicant for funding under the Erasmus Plus program. However, it is strongly recommended that you have had at least one successful application under Erasmus Plus before attempting to apply for the charter. If you have not yet had a successful Erasmus Plus project, you will need to ensure your application highlights the relevance of your previous projects to the Erasmus Plus program and how that will translate across. The process of applying begins with the completion and submission of a dedicated 2017 VET Mobility Charter application e-form, which will be available on our website very soon. Within this, you will need to include your organization's European internationalization strategy. We recommend that you follow the guidance contained in the Guide for Applicants once this is released, as this gives step-by-step instructions about how to complete the form and the checks you should make before submitting it. The deadline for submission to the UK National Agency is on or before 11 a.m. UK time on the 17th of May 2017. There will then be an assessment and evaluation period concluding in September 2017. You will be notified of the assessment outcome and whether or not you have been awarded a charter by the end of September 2017. If awarded charter holder status this year, you will then be able to apply in the simplified way described earlier from the 2018 Key Action 1 call onwards. If you are unsuccessful in your charter application, you could, of course, still submit Key Action 1 VET Mobility funding applications in the usual way and would be able to apply again for charter holder status in 2018. Aside from sections which are very similar to the usual Key Action 1 application form and concentrate on details for both you and any consortium partners, there are two sections of the VMC applications form which are very different, and we are going to concentrate on these today. Section D is all about your organization's mission and strategy. When you get to it, it looks really easy to complete because it is simply asking you to attach your organization's European internationalization strategy document under section D1. You will need to include your organization's EIC as an annex to your application. If you do not already have one, you will need to create one that is relevant to VET mobility projects and your organization's internationalization plans for the future. If your organization already has a strategy, you will need to ensure it has relevance to VET projects and, of course, to your internationalization of VET activities, or that it contains a sub-strategy reflecting Erasmus Plus and VET mobility. Our definition of a European internationalization strategy is a document giving direction to the work of VET organizations in planning, developing and delivering sustainable long-term internationalization activities, including transnational mobility. An EIS should specifically show how internationalization will build and add value to the organizational strategy. The EIS should be clearly and logically structured with an action plan included and should give measurable time-limited indicators as well as proposed numbers of placements for staff and learners. You should be able to evidence that there is policy-level support within the organization for the strategy. Take care with key details and include information about current partners and countries the organization works with. It is also important to inform us about any prospective new partners and countries and why you want to work with them. If applicable, let us know if you are planning any reciprocal changes or exchanges with these partners. Most importantly, ensure you highlight the added value and benefit that working transnationally does and will bring to the organization. If applying as a consortium, each organization will need to submit their EIS with the application. We cannot stress enough the importance of ensuring that you read all the guidance available to you on this section. The EIS tends to be quite a weak area for many of the applications we have received in the past. Section D is followed closely by Section E, which covers your implementation of past and current mobility activities. This section is split into two. In the first half, which is Section E1, you will need to detail the relevance of your organization's experience in delivering transnational VET mobility in relation to the Erasmus Plus objectives of the call. You will also need to demonstrate an ability to deliver high-quality projects. You should assume that assessors know nothing about your organization or your previous projects. So in this case, assessors can only assess what is written within your application. You should therefore ensure that all your previous projects and achievements are fully documented and included. Of course, this is the section where you must provide information and relevant contract numbers and titles about the last 3 VET mobility projects that you have completed under the lifelong learning or Erasmus Plus programs, and which provide your eligibility to apply for the charter. Single applicants will include the last 3 projects. Remember, if applying as a consortium, to give project details for each other member of the consortium if you have not completed 3 previous mobilities together. Finally, in this section, you need to describe the profile of the participants you have involved and whether they were students, apprentices, recent graduates, or staff. You should, if relevant, give the percentage of the learner population at your organization that undertakes learning mobilities. It is also possible to use this section to describe any other types of mobility activities that your organization has had experience in to reinforce evidence of your organization's capacity to manage projects. You should show that your mobility project activities are consistent with your overall objectives and enable the participants to reach their required learning outcomes. The second part of Section E requires an explanation about how you intend to manage the mobility activities that you carry out in the future. This is a vital aspect of the application, given that quality mobility can only be achieved in the right framework of quality management. Therefore, in order to receive the VET Mobility Charter, it is necessary to show how you manage the full cycle of mobility from preparation to follow-up. This means committing to a de facto quality commitment. Without it, your organization cannot receive the charter. You need to explain how you manage the mobility within your organization and detail how the important practical arrangements for organizing travel, subsistence, social security, and insurance are made. If you have a high demand for mobility, please show a clear and transparent process for participant selection, including all the different stages and the criteria used to make the final decision. You also need to confirm whether you use mobility for the most able learners or whether you also use it for weaker performers, such as those with learning difficulties or fewer opportunities, if appropriate. Please include the type of participants you envisage sending, and remember that their preparation is of paramount importance if quality mobility activities are to be achieved. You should explain your preparation process, whether this is sector-specific, task-related, linguistic, intercultural, psychological, and so on. You should also include details about what plans you have in place to enable the inclusion of participants who face barriers to their involvement, whether for socio-economic reasons or because of special needs or other factors. In addition, information concerning monitoring, support, and mentoring activities should be shown here, along with any plans to include accompanying people. You also need to specify what methods will be used to enable the recognition of learning outcomes. You should include here your organization's plans with regards to host organization selection and how agreements are made with them. It is also advisable to specify contingency plans in the event of staff or organizational changes which occur during the life of your VMC. Finally, you should detail the key achievements of your previous projects, their impact, how you disseminated the results, and what evaluation procedures you have in place to assess whether objectives have been met and what steps have been taken to follow participants' achievements following inclusion in the mobility. How do you ensure quality improvement based upon evaluation activities? These achievements should include any from the lifelong learning program too, where this is relevant. Remember, we need to see applications of an excellent quality in order for the national agency to be confident that charter holders will be able to carry out strong projects with high-quality mobilities for participants throughout the Erasmus program. Please, therefore, take all guidance into account while planning and completing your application. As with Key Action 1 VET mobility applications, there are 3 award criteria which can achieve a maximum score of either 30 or 40. Here we have the specific award criteria for the VMC. The first one is all about the relevance of previous transnational VET mobility experience related to the objectives of the call, and it can be awarded a maximum score of 30. The relevance of the EIS, specifically evidence of your institutional strategy, development, and commitment to transnational VET mobility can receive up to 40. Organizational issues and quality management can receive a maximum score of 30. To be considered for the charter, applications must score at least 70 points. In addition, they must score at least half of the maximum points in each of the award criteria shown on this slide. Full details of what assessors will look out for under each award criteria are on pages 5 and 6 of the call document. Now, I'll give you a basic timeline of the application assessment and selection process. 2017 VET Mobility Charter applications have to be submitted to the UK National Agency on or before 11 a.m. UK time on 17th of May 2017. We will then complete our logging procedures and all eligibility checks prior to commencing a qualitative assessment. Only those applications that pass these initial steps will be subject to assessment. This process will be tough and follow strict guidelines because it is imperative that the national agency is completely confident about an organization's ability to manage and deliver high-quality projects for the next 3 years of the program. All applicants will be notified of the outcome of their application by the end of September this year. If you successfully become a charter holder, you will hold this charter for the lifetime of Erasmus+, subject to satisfactory monitoring outcomes carried out by the national agency. You should ensure there are strong, committed partnerships in place, and you will be responsible for project implementation and should ensure placement content and activities are relevant and objectives are clearly defined. Appropriate participant selection, preparation, support, and contractual systems must be in place and in line with those detailed in your application. You will also need to conduct regular monitoring and evaluation to assess the quality of the mobilities and use the results to adjust and further improve consequent placements and projects. Your organization will be expected to develop and use effective dissemination strategies for the results of your mobility activities. Project progress will be reported to the national agency. In addition, at the midpoint of your organization's charter period and at the end of the last mobility contract, you will be asked to report on the development of the European internationalization strategy and how it has been affected by the charter. Before we conclude, here are some key points for you to remember. First and foremost, ensure you are eligible to apply in this round. As a reminder, this means any UK-based public or private entity who has had at least 3 successful VET mobility projects previously, with an average budget spend of 80% across those projects. If you are unsure about this, please contact your project officer at the national agency. But remember that it is your responsibility to calculate average spend correctly and to be happy you comply with the eligibility and selection criteria. Your organization must have a high-quality European internationalization strategy. Also, ensure you complete the correct application form, which will be available on our website very soon. Use the national agency's own guidance when completing it, and if you have applied before, don't forget to review the feedback you have received from us, because this will include key areas of improvement which will improve your chances of submitting a good quality application. As with all our application forms, we would advise that you save the form frequently so no information is lost. Provide relevant answers to the questions in the application, but remember that there is a character limit on many of those sections. You can see the limit by hovering your mouse over the answer boxes. It's a good idea to get someone else to proofread your application and annexes, perhaps against the published award criteria. When completing the application form, please assume that the assessor knows nothing about your organization and the projects you have completed. In this way, you'll have to include all core and relevant information in the form, or attach as annexes. If you include links to websites or other documentation, the assessor may not have the time to go and read it. Please leave enough time for completing and submitting your application before the deadline of the 11 a.m. UK time on the 17th of May. Unfortunately, any received after this deadline will automatically be rejected with no exceptions.
Okay, so our second poll is asking you whether you are considering applying for the VMC in the 2017 call. Okay, let's just wait for a couple more to respond to that. Okay, we have a mixed response here. So if you do have any doubts or whether to apply for the charter, please read our guidance as soon as it is published and don't hesitate to contact the National Agency for support. We will help as much as we can. But in any case, it's good to see that many of you are thinking of applying. Please do read our guidance as soon as it is published. And again, don't hesitate to contact the National Agency for support, as we want to award the charter to as many organizations as possible, obviously subject to receiving high quality applications.
Right. So to conclude, I'd like to remind you of the support the UK National Agency will be offering in the run-up to the 17th of May deadline for VMC applications to be submitted. A recording of this webinar will be sent to you in the next couple of days. After the webinar, you will be redirected to a feedback form. Please do fill this out, as we aim to continuously improve these webinars and have taken previous feedback on board when creating the webinars for this round. The application form and detailed guide for applicants on how to fill out and submit the application form will be available on our Erasmus Plus website soon. As mentioned at the beginning, we will be holding a VMC applicant workshop in Birmingham on the 30th of March 2017, where we will discuss the application form and requirements in further detail. We really want to focus on telling you about lessons learned from previous application rounds, share tips from a VMC holder, and generally helping you, in particular with your European internationalization strategy. So it will be a very interesting day. An invite will be sent over the next couple of days. Please only register if you will be eligible to apply for the charter in this round. Again, more information will be available on our website over the next few days. As you know, our website can be found at www.erasmusplus.org.uk, and besides all sorts of information about the program as a whole, there is specific information concerning VMC available too. We also have a helpline where our team is available to answer your questions about your VMC application. Thank you all for your attention and participation during this webinar. We hope you found the information useful. Here are our contact details for further support. We'll be around for a couple more minutes to answer any final questions, and if there are any more that come up, please contact us via the email address or the number on the screen. If there are any questions we haven't managed to answer during the session today, we will get back to you by email afterwards. Thank you so much again for all of your attention.